All right.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Kaya Hagler. I'm a birth doula and massage therapist and prenatal coach. I'm so excited to be introducing Maraya Brown. Maraya is a Yale certified nurse midwife with her master's in science and nursing and her undergraduate in marketing. She has been attending births for 20 years and she's managed women's clinics for 13 years in Hawaii and Oregon. And she also taught at the Chinese Medicine College on the Big Island of Hawaii. She is also in the process of getting her functional medicine, her certification in functional medicine. She has a deep appreciation for and respect for food as medicine, and now practices online as a women's health coach with her 8-week program to help women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. She is co-creator and co-founder of Beyond the Red Tent. She is also a mom of 3 young children, 7 and younger, and a wife to Michael, a personal trainer with heart. Super excited to have the opportunity to interview Maraya and hear all her insight and on nutrition around pregnancy and nursing. So let's dive right in. And before getting into the nutrition piece, I want to ask if you can talk about the importance of downtime during pregnancy and nursing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. It's nice to see you guys, and Kaya and I have a special, so it's nice to see you in this setting too. Okay, so downtime. Well, downtime is important for lots of reasons. Downtime is important for women, no matter what age you are, no matter if you're pregnant, postpartum, menopausal, fertile, infertile, all the above. That was me. My internet.
Okay,
I'm using my phone as a hotspot.
Sure.
Someone tried to call. We love technology. We work around it. Downtime allows our adrenals to go, oh, I'm not being chased by a lion. To make a long story short. So if you think about the onslaught of what we deal with on a daily basis, even just if you have the news playing in the background and you have alerts up on your phone, if you have stress in your day, you're managing a household and a job, and there's stress of finances, there's worry about health, there's concern about what might happen tomorrow, you wake up from a dream, you watch a scary movie, whatever it is, our body literally feels as though we're a zebra in the Sahara being chased to be eaten. The physiological response is just the same. So downtime for us gives our body that time to decompress. When there's always on edge, our adrenals are going, pumping out that cortisol, not really knowing the difference between wildebeest is right on my heels versus just, I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills this month. Or I haven't had a good night's sleep in 5 years, whatever it may be, or I'm eating horrible food, too much sugar, too much fast food, I'm bombarding my body with all these endocrine disruptors, whatever it may be, we have to find the time to rest and get quiet, because that allows our adrenals to go, all right, now I'm a zebra sitting by the edge of the water and I'm gonna have some water to drink. My food is now going to digest. My immune system is now going to be able to turn back on. My sex hormones are going to be able to be back and moving and grooving. The hormones that make me feel alive and happy. Because on the flip side, if you're perpetually in that fight, flight, or freeze mode, all that stuff is turned off. You don't need an orgasm if you're being chased by a lion. You don't need to digest your food and have a good bowel movement. You don't need to ovulate. You don't need to worry about if you're going to be exposed to a virus and maybe get sick. The immune system's not important. Survival is what's most important. Okay, so rest allows all of that to come alive again. And particularly for a pregnant woman, it gives her time to connect with that baby, that beautiful being that is inside our womb, listening as early as 10 weeks. We know that baby is listening to everything that's going on. We know that baby feels what we feel. And so we get to teach that child that we're listening, and that it's okay to be calm, and that the world is safe. And same with postpartum. If you would like to produce breast milk, you have got to find a calm space where you're not feeling watched. It's not super bright. You're not trying to entertain everybody else and make sure everybody's needs are met. You just get to focus on you and that child so that the breast milk can produce. Oxytocin can get flowing so that you bond. And same with labor. It's the same thing. I could keep going, but I'll stop.
Yeah, no, all of that is so, so true. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we all live it, right? And we can see
Mm-hmm.
it. We can see it when we apply it, what a
Yeah.
difference that makes. So, yeah. What are your recommendations for hydration during pregnancy and nursing?
Yeah.
And what would you say to someone that has a hard time with drinking water? I know I get that a lot from
Yeah.
clients of mine.
Yeah. Yeah. So hydration is super, super, super important. We've got to keep, I mean, there's so many reasons why hydration is important. So let's talk about pregnancy first. We want to make sure the amniotic fluid is strong, right? We want to make sure our joints and our skin is supple. And I want to talk, if it's okay with you, I want to add in quality fats too. Or are you going to ask me that later on?
You
Okay.
can
So
bring
when I
it
think of hydration, it's bringing hydration into the system so that we can allow, remember when you're pregnant, you're going to grow your blood volume by 50%. You have 50% more liquid pumping through your veins via blood. So we need to make sure we're hydrating simply for that. We're hydrating for our baby. We're breathing for our baby. We're eating for our baby. We're hydrating for our baby. And then postpartum, I mean, hydration, everybody knows, is huge in regard to breast milk supply. I mean, it is like your full-time job. When you become a newly breastfeeding mom, particularly those first 4 months, what do? We breastfeed, we put them in a nap, we change a diaper, they take a nap, they go poop, they breastfeed. I mean, that's just kind of they split up. I mean, that's just what we're doing, and we're having to hydrate in between. So if you have a hard time fitting in water, there's lots of solutions. Number one, try adding things to it. So if you add a squeeze of lemon, or you add a little bit of apple cider vinegar, that's going to be phenomenal for your gut health. Anyway, if you tend to be super gassy, anyone with belching, extra gas, any stomach upset, that little bit of extra lemon juice or apple cider vinegar can go a long way. Heartburn, we all know in pregnancy, heartburn can definitely be a thing. And so that can sometimes help just it be more palatable. Okay. The other thing is often, so first of all, if you get thirsty, that tells me you are way beyond dehydrated. You should never actually get to the point of thirst. We need to stay on top of the hydration and on top of the caloric intake throughout the day. And so other ways to help hydration, I love chia seeds. Chia seeds are hydrophilic. If you notice when they soak in water, the little balls fill up with water, right? So what happens is when you have chia seeds that have been soaked in water and now you ingest them, or you even just take a handful, they're going to absorb that water and help you maintain your hydration over time. So when I was in Hawaii and worked with high endurance athletes and all the Ironmen, they would add extra chia seeds in the hot sweat to maintain their hydration. And so then the fats, I wanted to make sure I talked a little bit about fats. That's also lubricating the joints, adding the suppleness to your skin to reduce the stretch marks, reduce the chance of tearing. I will never forget one of the births that I attended. She was pushing, the crowning was beautiful and slow, and then pop. I didn't see it coming, and she tore. It was one of the worst tears I've ever seen. And this is a woman, I hadn't been part of her prenatal care. I was just on staff attending births on the hospital floor that evening. And the next day when I went in for my postpartum rounds, I started talking to her about her nutrition. She had been on a fat-free diet for years and had no fat at all in her diet. And it showed up. She had no pliability in her skin at all, which for her showed up as quite a tear. I had to literally call the OB in. It went down into her rectum. So we need hydration and we need quality fats. And I feel like they kind of cross over. The other thing is simple things like sometimes drinking out of a straw makes a big difference. Sometimes adding ice makes a difference. If you're pregnant and you're chomping on ice, I know that craving. I've been through it. Often it's anemia, it's a little iron deficiency. Sometimes it's just that crazy craving, but please find a way to stop because it ruins your teeth. So if you're going to be an ice chomper while you're pregnant, find a different way to get the hydration in. Add some cut up cucumbers into your water. Add some blueberries into your water. Try taking your water bottle and put marks on it with times. Okay, so we've got 8 a.m., 10 a.m., noon, 2 p.m., 4 p.m., and you're watching it. So you're taking sips and you're watching that you're getting your hydration in. Maybe you like something warm. Maybe you like something cold. Generally speaking, when you're drinking, say, a non-dairy milk or some tea or something, generally speaking, that's not counted in water intake. So really, we're talking about water intake. And sometimes if it just never feels like you're satiated and you're not getting the hydration in, sometimes what it tells me that it's actually a desire for electrolytes, particularly when you're pregnant. So if you have low blood pressure, high blood pressure, you're having some lightheadedness, you're having muscle cramps, those are all signs that maybe we need a little bit of extra electrolytes. So a pinch of Himalayan sea salt in your water, adding in some magnesium. I like Calm, which is a calcium magnesium mix, particularly in the evenings for when you start getting the leg cramps, that can really do wonders. So sometimes it's a need for extra minerals or electrolytes. I'll stop there.
Thank you for that. I noticed like we started talking about hydration and me and Janae both took a drink of water. We all need the reminders, right?
Yeah, we do.
What do you, yeah. And also about the Calm, there's a kosher version of, I just know there's a lot of people here keep kosher. The Earth's, what's that brand? The Garden of Life. Is that the brand? Garden of Life? Yeah,
Maybe.
they make one that's very similar. I'm not sure exactly how it compares, but I think it's a good substitute.
As long as it's magnesium citrate. Yeah. And magnesium glycinate's not the end of the world. I think in general, the citrate's going to be good if you tend towards constipation, and often women in pregnancy do. But if that's not the case and you're really just doing it to help with calm and sleep and muscle cramps, then even doing a supplemental magnesium glycinate, that's fine too. And I'm sure there's lots of kosher options.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. What do you suggest to someone who is dealing with nausea and morning sickness during pregnancy?
Yeah.
Very common.
So first, it's often a byproduct of blood sugars. So particularly that first trimester, just you can't even brush your teeth. You can't feel like you can stomach anything. Often women are just craving bland crackers or sugar. What is generally happening is the blood sugar is crashing quickly and you're getting on this roller coaster, which is causing the nausea. So number one is, can you find something that is protein rich, ideally vegetables, even a handful of nuts, chia seeds, that you're ingesting every 20 to 40 minutes. So what we want is we want to get our blood sugar stable from the moment we wake up. I always say within 30 to 60 minutes of waking, you're bringing in some quality protein. I love the Juice Plus protein powder. It's called Complete. It's a wide variety of plants, a great source of prebiotics, and a nice quality protein. It's a soy, but it's an organic and non-GMO soy. So it's bringing in those quality phytoestrogens. So sometimes just doing the vanilla or chocolate with some water to start out in the morning, or like I said, a handful of nuts, some sauteed kale, and whatever you could do, an avocado, something that's going to bring in some quality fat, some quality protein, and then find a way, just a little piece of fruit, a little vegetable, a little handful of nuts, a little bit of hummus. If you're working or you're going to be out, you chop things up, you pack it, and you just have little bits. And if you can continue to snack, sip, often you can keep the nausea at bay through blood sugar management. If that's not working, I think a lot of the time we get pregnant and we think, okay, I need prenatal vitamins. We go to our traditional OBGYN and sometimes even our midwife, and they say, okay, start on a prenatal. Which one? Anyone, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, no. I don't agree with that at all. First of all, I think that we don't have a vitamin deficiency as a society. We have a whole food deficiency. So rather than saying, I'm going to take the sorbic acid out of an apple and call that vitamin C, well, how about we eat the apple? And rather than taking the beta carotene out of the carrot, how about we eat the carrot? Because every plant, what I've been taught is every plant that we know of has as many as 10,000 different ingredients. We're talking about phytonutrients, antioxidants, polyphenols, enzymes, minerals, vitamins. Yes, vitamins, but it's in synergy with the plant. So first and foremost, we're going to eat well, okay? We're going to get in lots of greens, every color, every day. And sometimes what happens is women will just add in a prenatal vitamin, and often it's actually the prenatal vitamin that's causing the nausea. And so if for a woman, I'll say, let's try going off of the prenatal vitamin. Now let's figure out what nutritional deficiencies might there be, and maybe hand pick some extra foods that are going to bring in that nutrition, or hand pick maybe one very quality supplement that's going to give you what you want. So if you're looking for folic acid, first of all, we're not really looking for folic acid. We're looking for folate. Folate is the food form. So lemon zest, get some lemon peel, add it into the things that you're making. Eat extra strawberries, eat extra kidney beans, extra beans. Iron, often we hear in pregnancy, we're looking for iron. Well, if you eat meat, eat some red meat, make sure it's hormone and antibiotic free, cook with a cast iron skillet, eat your tomatoes, your seaweed, your prunes, your beans. I mean, find other ways to get in iron-rich foods. All your dark leafy greens are high in so many minerals. So for a woman who's going to go off of her prenatal vitamin and go, are you sure? I mean, of course, a pregnant woman wants only the best for her baby. And so it makes sense that she feels nervous. I don't want to do anything wrong. Well, what are the most important things? Yes, getting folate that first trimester and ideally before you get pregnant. So if you want to take a supplemental methylfolate, that's fine. If you think you need more iron, first of all, if you get your iron levels checked, it's kind of hard because remember, you've got the blood volume expansion. So if I take a cup, this is my adaptogen from the morning. If I take a cup of water, I wish you could see this, and I have, say, a teaspoon of salt, and let's say this is half filled, and then I fill the other half with more water, there's the blood expansion, blood volume expansion. There's the same amount of salt, but now we have a dilutional effect. So if I measure the sodium in this cup that's now been filled with water, it's going to have less sodium. But is it really less sodium? The body will recover. So what happens in pregnancy, we have that blood expansion, and then right around that same time, we're getting our 26-week labs. So sometimes it will show that we're anemic or low in iron. Is it really that we're low, or that we need to give our body time to regenerate those red blood cells? And in the meantime, eating iron-rich foods. So to go back to your question around nausea, you can keep your blood sugar steady. You can play around with taking out the prenatal vitamin. Instead, get the important things based on what you need. Your vitamin D is in dog. I say I'm not an advocate of vitamins. D is in dog is not a vitamin, it's a hormone. It's super important when you're pregnant. It's important for your immune system. It's important for your bone growth. It's important for your mood. It's also important for the immune system development of the baby. That there has been research to show decreased chances of asthma in a baby that's born when the mom has supplemented with vitamin D. So that is important, and we don't get enough through our food. And the other one is vitamin B as in boy. So getting a B complex sometimes is worthy of adding that in. Otherwise, do a deep dive and a look at yourself in the mirror with what you're putting in your mouth. What is on your fork? And I think generally we can get what it is that we're looking for. The other thing that I did for my pregnancies, and I often recommend for the patients that I see, is if we're going to take, first of all, I've never taken a prenatal vitamin in all 4 of my pregnancies. 1 miscarriage in the midst of that. I took Juice Plus instead. So I doubled up my Juice Plus dose throughout my entire pregnancy. I'd added in the Juice Plus Omegas. I added in a quality probiotic, vitamin D is in dog, and a methylfolate first trimester. And I had amazing, healthy, beautiful home births and amazing, healthy babies. My eldest is almost 8. None of them have ever taken any antibiotic, never been on any med. We have really strong, healthy immune systems. Do I feel guilty that I didn't take a prenatal vitamin? Absolutely not. So particularly in that setting, sometimes it's actually the prenatals causing the nausea. Then there's ginger tea. Just chop up some ginger, boil it in some water, sip on it through the day. We have a pressure point right here on the inside of our wrists. You can get the nausea bands. That's why they work. You can also just put your wrists together. try holding them. Sometimes there's a spot right here where your bones come together. If you just get your thumb in there and you dig around, sometimes that can help the nausea. I'll stop there.
Okay. Can you tell us what Juice Plus is? Because some of us don't.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
people here don't know what it is.
Yeah. Okay. So Juice Plus is encapsulated plants. So it's been around for, gosh, I'm going to say 30 years. It's actually the most researched supplement on the globe. What the company does is they work with small to medium-sized farmers that meet their specific requirements about how the produce is grown, and everything's tested. The soil's tested, the seeds are tested for herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, contaminants. Then the produce is vine ripened, so it's picked at the peak of ripeness, which is really important. The majority of the nutritional density happens when a plant is able to fully ripen. If you've ever had a garden, you know the difference between picking a tomato or a strawberry when it's ripe on the vine versus getting it at the grocery store because it was picked a long time ago so it could go on a boat and an airplane and a train and a car to get to the grocery store so it can look pretty, right? We want flavorful, nutritionally dense plants. So whenever you're buying your produce, hopefully you can buy it locally grown from farmers. So then with Juice Plus, it's 30 different fruits, vegetables, and berries. They're picked at the peak of ripeness, then they're pulverized. What's interesting is research has been showing that when you chop up or pulverize a plant, it can actually activate and increase the nutritional density. So even when we're making salads at home, when you're chopping those veggies, it's actually activating something that increases the nutrition. And then it's flash frozen. It's actually flash frozen before it's chopped. So it's pulverized in its entirety. Say the orange includes the rind, the grapes include the stem, the broccoli includes that fibrous part that we don't ever eat. So you're getting the nutritional pack from the whole 30 plants. You're getting every color every day. It's not serving size. It's not replacing the food that you're actually eating. It's about bridging that gap and knowing that your foundation is in place. That your foundational nutrition, remember the phytonutrients, the antioxidants, the polyphenols, the carotenoids, the minerals, the vitamins, that foundation is in place because you've got this really wide variety of quality plants in your body every day. It comes in capsule form or chewies. Hopefully you'll do the capsules. And kids get it for free too. And then it's tested again. So it's tested a number of times for herbicides, pesticides, contaminants. And so we know that it is even better than organic, in my opinion. Because it's not just that we're buying produce that was quote unquote organically grown and that farmer doesn't control its neighboring farmers and the water runoff and the air. We don't have to worry about that beautifully organically grown corn or strawberries that then gets put onto a truck that just carried a pesticide-filled batch of broccoli, and now we've cross-contaminated our beautifully grown plants. So it's quality plants, and then like I mentioned, it's the most researched supplement on the globe. I think at this point it's more than 40 published studies in peer-reviewed journals that are double-blind, placebo-controlled, the important stuff from a clinician standpoint. And there's also protein powder too, which is a vegan. It's all gluten-free and dairy-free and kosher certified. And for Olympic athletes, they have the NSF Sport stamp of approval. And so there's Olympic athletes that use it. And I'll stop there. Yes. Oh, one more thing about that though. I like to talk. I have been taking Juice Plus for 14 years. And so has my husband. And not only was it the foundation for my pregnancy health, but it's also been surging through my children's bodies since they were born, when they got their breast milk. And I opened up the capsules and mixed the powder in with all of their baby foods. And they chew the capsules. They love, all three of my children, 3, 6, and 7, love vegetables. They love bitter foods and kale and cilantro. And I think part of it is that metabolic programming, that taste bud programming that happened for them from the very, very beginning by adding in this wide variety of plants. Okay, now I'm done.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. Like I see it myself, like how the more you eat those foods, the more you crave it.
Totally. And it's the same with McDonald's and potato chips.
Right.
And alcohol.
And sugar, right?
And sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are some foods to support postpartum recovery and breastfeeding?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, nourishing foods. I think of warm foods. Postpartum, we want warmth. We want our heated up soups, our ginger, our cinnamon. You don't want super spicy food though. So when I say hot, I don't mean spicy. I mean warm. Your baked potatoes, getting quality protein, staying super hydrated, things that feel soothing. Like you think of mom's homemade chicken noodle soup or bone broth if you're not a vegan. If you're a vegan, your quality lentils, mixing in, I don't know. And okay, so that's enough there. So that postpartum and breastfeeding period, um, I don't know what else you're going to ask, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the things to kind of stay away from, in particularly around breastfeeding. So I had been a midwife for 12 years, catching babies, but then I would just hand them over. And I wasn't one of those women that had grown up around kids or babies much. And so here I was, I'd given birth to my first child. We were living in Hawaii, far away from any family, gave birth at home. I remember the midwife tucked us in. And I remember, because I had been attending births with her as a second home birth midwife. And I remember looking up at her saying, Nina, this is where the uncharted territory begins. Like, I don't know any of this stuff. And I don't remember when, within a few weeks or a month, my firstborn had colic. And it was so intense. I mean, I knew at 6 p.m. every night, it was heart-wrenching cries. My mom came out for a visit, and I remember she said, I think you need to take him to the hospital. Like, something is really wrong. And I knew in my heart of hearts that something wasn't wrong. He didn't need to go to the hospital, but something also wasn't right. And so what I learned is the mistakes that I had made. I think, who knows, you ask Dr. Sears and he says, you can take two population of parents for 3 months. One group of parents is going to do everything they can. They're going to take out their gluten and their dairy and their onions and their garlic and all the cruciferous veggies and all the spicy food. And they're going to do everything they can to figure out that one thing that's causing the colic in the baby. And at the 3-month mark, they finally figured out and the colic's gone. And then you take this other group of parents who they're like, it's colic, it's going to pass at some point. And right around the 3-month mark, it's gone. So I don't know. But for me, I think what was significant was I ate spicy food. I loved Thai food, and someone wanted to bring a meal over and they brought super spicy green papaya salad, which is one of my favorites. And I think it really impacted my gut biome. So I learned the hard way there. So I would say stay away from your spicy foods. The gas producing foods like your cruciferous veggies, your broccoli, your cabbage, your onions, your carrots, I think those are worthy of staying away from. Even kale initially when you're in the first postpartum period. And maybe it ends up feeling a little bit bland, but that's okay. You're going to find those foods that feel nourishing. You're going to still try to get in every color every day. You're going to get ample protein because now your body, when you're pregnant, women say, I'm eating for 2. It's actually not really valid. You're not really eating for 2. You have a growing baby. And yes, you need protein intake. And yes, you need calories. When you're breastfeeding, now you're really eating for 2. And so you really do need the extra caloric intake. And so find the way to get the caloric intake in without those foods that are going to potentially cause stomach upset for you. So for me, I would say stay away from gluten and dairy. Also, when you're pregnant, stay away from dairy. Dairy and sugar when you're pregnant tend to grow really big babies, and they get particularly big right around here. What mom wants to push out a baby that is super big in the shoulders? I'm telling you, you don't. So moms who are pregnant, stay away from the dairy, stay away from the sugar. Same with postpartum. Ideally, we're going to stay away from the sugar for sure. The dairy, if you like dairy, your stomach handles it well, and it's whole, unpasteurized, from cows that have not been given any antibiotics or hormones, and they've been fed organic food. Maybe there's some flexibility there if that's your main source of protein. My preference would be no gluten, no dairy, no sugar, no alcohol, right? And no caffeine. That caffeine can be very depleting. It's going to leach, it's going to leave you dehydrated. Same with in pregnancy. So if you're looking for more energy, find a different source of energy. Increase your greens. Greens are a great source of energy. Increase your juice plus. For me, if I'm feeling a little afternoon slump, I'll just take an extra round of those encapsulated plants because I'm getting the energy from the plants without the sugar. And on the alcohol conversation, one caveat with that is sometimes when we talk about breast milk supply, there is some information that says that hops can help increase breast milk supply. So for some women, they will have a beer and it will help their breast milk supply. Now, if that doesn't feel right to you and you have concern about any alcohol passing through your breast milk, then don't go there. Talk to your midwife, talk to your OB, but there is some information there which I think is worthy of exploring for a woman who's really struggling with breast milk supply. I think that's enough. What else?
Well, I just want to ask, like, on the fly, for
Yeah.
someone that's listening to this and it's like very overwhelming, like to cut all that out, what would you say to them, like, so
Yeah.
that they don't feel too overwhelmed and
Well,
prioritize
yeah,
or baby step?
anytime we feel overwhelmed, we need community. We need support. So if you're going to try to take on a new challenge, don't do it alone. Find someone to do this with you. If the person that invited you to this call, if they're in any way associated with Juice Plus, or they're going to have a ton of resources for you. So ask them, say, I'm thinking about trying this, but I don't really know how, because there's a program, it's called Shred 10, and it actually helps people get off of the gluten, the dairy, the sugar, the alcohol, the caffeine, and the processed foods. But it also helps you have the tools with, what do I replace it with? Here's some recipes. Here's a support system of others that are doing it alongside you. So you have a platform where you can ask questions and go, I don't even know where to start. It doesn't taste good. My family doesn't like it. What other ways, what other spices can I add? And brainstorm and be willing to ask those questions. I'm a huge advocate of the snack tray. If you're a new mom and you've got other kids, my friend, I get a muffin tray. I like the silicone ones because then they don't rust. And every morning, my household knows, I go through, I chop up some veggies. I have lots of veggies, a little bit of fruit, some nuts, maybe some hummus, maybe some nut butters, maybe some gluten-free crackers. And I fill up each little container and everybody can graze all day long. I know that it's all healthy food. If I get sidetracked and I'm fallen asleep with my baby, or all of a sudden I'm covered in breast milk and I've got to go change my clothes and somebody's hungry, they can go to the snack tray. And same with you as a mom. If you just can't wrap your head around preparing food, do it once in the morning, have your snack tray, make a smoothie once in the morning, put it in the fridge, have that to sip on, and ask for help. Meal trains, my friend, meal trains. Women, we are not meant to be doing this all alone. And it's also not okay to put all of it on our partners either. It takes a community. So this is a time when you get to say, all right, I need help. And allow a friend to set up a meal train for you and say on the meal train, it feels a little uncomfortable, I know, but I'm one of those. If you bring a meal, please make sure it's gluten-free and dairy-free and sugar-free and alcohol-free and caffeine-free. And oh, by the way, organic would be my preference. And if it's going to be meat, could we have it antibiotic and hormone-free? I mean, why not say this is what you'd like, and empower others to find creative ways to bring you food and make something that's yummy to them. And now they're learning about new ways to get creative and eat well. I think there's value in us being bold and asking for help. And sometimes we're nervous to do it, but I think in the end, it empowers everybody.
Yeah, that support is important, and community, especially when recovering postpartum. Like, I feel like that support is really vital. Mm-hmm. Not I feel like, I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you find that probiotics are necessary for both mom and baby?
I think it's a controversial question. I think the gut microbiome is vital. I think that we're more bacteria than we are human cells. We're actually only 10% human cells. There's more bacteria in our gut than there are stars in the Milky Way. And I think that we can get our probiotics and our prebiotics from food. You get your hands in the dirt. You don't overuse antibacterial gels and ointments. You make sure that that baby is born vaginally, so the baby gets the first inoculation with the microbiome. Hopefully, if you're GBS positive, you can find another way around not having to get the penicillin when you're in labor, so that we're maintaining our microbiome. And then, do you take a supplemental probiotic? I don't know. I think that we can eat probiotic rich foods like miso and homemade sauerkraut and fermented veggies and tempeh and amazaki and kefir and yogurt and kombucha. And there's lots of ways that we can get probiotics in. And then what's important, so probiotic is going to introduce the good bacteria into our gut microbiome. Prebiotics go in and help the good bacteria do a better job at what it's supposed to be doing. And prebiotics all come from plants. So I think if someone is eating a plant dominant diet and they're not overdoing, they're not taking antibiotics. If you're ever on an antibiotic, it takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months for your microbiome to recover, because it's killing the bad stuff. It's also killing all the good stuff. Okay. So as best you can, if you're showing early signs of mastitis, see if you can nip that in the bum as quickly as possible. Heat, heat, heat. Cabbage leaves, grated potato, shower, pump, breast milk, whatever you can do. Load on echinacea, add in some extra liposomal vitamin C, add in extra juice plus, whatever you can do to nip the mastitis in the bum before you have to go on to antibiotics. If you do end up going on antibiotics, now we've got a 6 to 12 month recovery to restore that microbiome. And the microbiome is important for all of us. It's really important for pregnant and breastfeeding mamas, because it's not just ours, we're also impacting our babies. And so, like I said, getting in the dirt, eating a plant-rich diet. I did give my babies additional probiotic. I do the Jarodophilus baby powder, and I would just dip my finger in it and put it on their tongue, or even put some on my nipple. And I think part of it was because I had a colicky baby up front and I was a little bit nervous. And so I did give my babies probiotic right from the get-go after my first, because it was my first right around that 2 to 3 month mark where we introduced the probiotic and the colic went away. So I don't know if it was cause and effect, but with the other two, I started probiotic for them right away. I did not take a probiotic myself though.
Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned earlier the importance of like healthy fats, and you hear a lot about omegas being suggested. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. So your omega, well, people often say omega-3s, and often we think fish oil, but my friends, it's not just fish oil. It's not just omega-3. There's lots of different omegas, and they come from lots of plants that we eat. Why do we need omegas? Well, they're good for brain development, right? That mommy brain, we need more quality fat, okay? The brain development of the baby, the brain is fat, right? We need the quality omegas, the quality plant-based omegas ideally. So it's good for brain, it's good for joints, it's good for skin. So joints, it's going to help lubricate the joints. If you're feeling any kind of achy joints, particularly as you're at the end of your pregnancy and the relaxant's going up and you've got the pregnancy waddle and you've got just the achy and the low back and maybe a little bit of sciatica and maybe a little bit of carpal tunnel, let's bring in those extra omegas. And then also the skin, I already mentioned skin. So do you need a fish oil? I did take a fish oil in my first 2 pregnancies, and I made sure it was a really quality fish oil, because here's the concern. Number one, we've got lots of plastic byproducts in our oceans. Plastics are loaded in BPAs, which are endocrine disruptors. They go into the body, literally, if you imagine like a key in a lock for hormone receptors, those endocrine disruptors go in, that hormone is already filled. Sorry, the body goes, I already have that hormone. So they literally are disrupting our endocrine system and our hormone balance. And now the reason I bring that up is those BPAs are now in our ocean ways, and they're finding them in fish. Plus, the larger the fish, the more smaller fish that fish has eaten. So we have to worry about mercury buildup in the fish. So now we're taking these huge amounts of fish, hurting our ocean ways and our fish supply. And we're also now worrying about, are we thinking endocrine disruptor load and heavy metal load in a pregnant woman? No, thank you. So Nordic Naturals was the one that I took for those first 2 pregnancies. And then for my 3rd pregnancy, Juice Plus actually came out with a completely vegan omega, which comes from sea algae. One of the reasons the fish are so high in these omegas is because they're eating the sea algae, right? So let's bypass the fish and go right to the source, plus other plant sources. And it's a wide variety of omegas. I think it's 3, 6, 9, and 12. So now I'm able to get quality fats into my body from plant sources in that variety, and I don't have to worry about the global impact, the heavy metal impact, or the endocrine disruptor. So that's what I would advocate for people and what I did for mine.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Last question, and then we can take questions and wrap up. What foods can help increase milk supply for those who are struggling with their milk supply?
Yeah. So I'm going to answer it. And I know Candace is on and she's an herbalist, and I bet she'll have some answers too. And I forgot, I have 2 aromatherapies that I really love. This company, Essential 3, it's a locally run, women-run company called Essential 3. I just love them. One is an endocrine blend, and the other one is an adrenal blend, and they just smell so yummy. And so I think it's important to also mention aromatherapy goes a long way too. Okay, so breast milk supply. So the big things that we think of often, I already mentioned hops, I already mentioned hydration, I already mentioned find your calm. If you're struggling with breast milk supply, most often it's because you're worried about everyone else and taking care of everyone else. So you've got to hydrate like it's your job, and you need to find a nice, comfortable spot where everyone else in the household is cared for, and you get to just be with you in a quiet, relaxed space with your baby. Okay, then moving on, you can get breast milk teas. Hops is helpful. Oatmeal is said to be helpful. I think Candace is probably I didn't know Candace until right before we hopped on this call, and I looked in her background. I said, is that an apothecary? You're an herbalist. This is going to be a better answer for you to take. So Candace, I'm wondering if it's okay, can I just call on you? Would you talk a little bit about herbs for breast milk supply? And also, would you touch a little bit, because I didn't, on the role of adaptogens and any specific adaptogens that are great for pregnant and breastfeeding mamas, and any adaptogens that you would stay away from. And I want to just, with that caveat, people are going, what's an adaptogen? An adapt to who? So adaptogens generally all come from the plant, herb, or mushroom kingdom. They are super tonifying. So they go in and just kind of nourish the body, give the body what it needs. It's generally really hard to do something wrong with an adaptogen. They kind of just, whatever you take, they go in and give the body what it needs. And anytime we're pregnant or breastfeeding, it's always a good idea. So Chaya, if it's okay with you, I want to pass that last question on to Candace. Would you be open to talking a little bit about breast milk supply and also adaptogens?
Yes, of course. Thank you. So my name is Candace. I'm an herbalist and a certified fermenter too, actually. So I love how much you highlighted fermented foods. I think it's so important. But coming back to supporting lactation, there's a lot of herbs that are very nourishing that support the production of milk. Nettle, fenugreek, and oats are some of my favorites. And what I love about them is because not only are they going to nourish our milk supply, but they nourish a lot of other things that we need at that time as well. Fenugreek is a really great one. It's a hard seed, and it's very commonly used in Ayurvedic or in Indian cuisine. So you'll find that in different types of Indian food. And it's got a maple syrup flavor. And that's one of the reasons why I really love it, is because we get a little bit of that sweet comfort that we all need as new mamas, right? So if we're kind of gravitating towards sweetness, if we're craving that ice cream, if we're craving the sugar, I really appreciate fenugreek because it actually does help regulate blood sugar too. And so not only are we going to be able to increase breast milk, we're going to appreciate the flavor, we're going to get that sweet comfort and that nourishment that we need. And then we get the benefit of a little bit of blood sugar regulation. Nettle is another good one, stinging nettle. Some people have an aversion to stinging nettle because we get stung and it grows like a weed in many people's yards. But I intentionally grow nettle. In fact, I have a nettle sting on my hand today because I just harvested a bunch of nettle before our call today. And but it's so nutritionally dense. And so you can take fresh or dried nettle, you can make teas out of it. You can take the dried nettle and sprinkle it into your food. So if you're making a bowl of oatmeal, you're sprinkling a little dried nettle in there, and you're getting all the benefits and the nourishment of it. So it can be a really easy thing to incorporate into what you're currently doing without feeling overwhelmed. You can just have that dry jar of nettle and you're sprinkling in your food, or you're making a fresh batch of tea every day, adding in a little fenugreek or some oats. And as far as adaptogen goes, I think this is really important because we have to address the stress response. And I love that you highlighted that, because we can be taking all the herbs in the world and all the food in the world to support lactation, but if we're stressed out, it's not going to really matter, to be honest, because the stress is going to overpower the benefits of the nutrition we're putting into our body. So we can really support our stress response through self-care and through adaptogens. We're going to allow the food and the herbs to be able to work their magic. We're going to get more benefits out of them. So the adaptogens are really important because they help regulate our stress response. That's how they got the word adaptogen. They help us adapt to our environment, and that's what our stress response does. We want a healthy stress response. So stress isn't necessarily isn't necessarily bad, unless it's chronic and at inappropriate times. But our stress response is actually something that can be healthy for us. So instead of thinking about, I have to eliminate all stress out of my life, start thinking about, I need a healthy stress response. I need to be able to react to my environment in a healthy way. And if we can shift our mindset just slightly, that really helps us. And then the adaptogens even work better, right? So adaptogens, some of my favorite during lactation are oats. Oat straw, milky oats. And I also really love astragalus because that also supports your immune system too. Astragalus, I put that in all my broths. You're cooking up beans, you're cooking up rice, you throw in some astragalus sticks right into what you're cooking. You can always pull them out later, or you can chew on them after they cook. And then you're getting that adaptogenic quality into your food. And mushrooms are probably going to be the easiest and most convenient. So if you're still kind of at like a little bit of a loss of what to do for adaptogens, just start with mushrooms. Get some fresh mushrooms from the grocery store. You can work with a really good quality mushroom supplement. I really like Host Defense. That's probably my favorite. There are definitely other good mushroom companies out there as well. But the mushrooms are going to be a really important role, I think, for helping your body adapt to your environment and support your immune system and your overall stress response.
I love it.
I could talk some more, but I know we've been on for a while. So
yeah, adaptogens are so important. And so if anybody's ever seen reishi or chaga, those are great mushrooms for immune support. I think the libido conversation is relevant in the postpartum period. Shatavari is fine while breastfeeding, right?
Oh, so yeah, and it does help with lactation. It gets that milk flow going. Yep.
So some shatavari, you can find adaptogen mixes. Mm-hmm. Even green tea, chocolate, dark chocolate.
Yep. Yeah, so many fun things. And I even think just playing around with what resonates with you too, as far as like flowers go. I'm a big fan of, incorporating flowers during pregnancy, tuning in with that feminine grace and divine. So I noticed a lot of women tend to gravitate towards roses and jasmine and like ylang ylang, like just really like floral notes. I never liked floral smells until I had a baby. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm a woman now. I love the smell of these roses and this jasmine and all these floral scents that just kind of were too strong for me before I became a mom. And, but that's part of the self-care and adaptogen quality is, finding ways to calm that stress response and nourish the body. Because to me, that's what adaptogen is it helps to regulate stress and support your immune system, but in a nourishing way.
Yeah. And I do have a bunch of adaptogen elixir recipes. I know there's a link to I run a private Facebook group. When you join the group, if you give me your email address, I'll email you a bunch of recipes, and you can, like, that's what I was sipping on. So in here I have Rasa tea, I have some vegan collagen, I have some fresh nettles, a little bit of honey, a little bit of maca powder, and some hot water, and some organic nut milk. And then I just put it in my coffee press, and then I sip on it all day long. So it's just nourishing and tonifying. I'm telling you, it's made such a difference from adrenal crash to feeling good. All right, I'm gonna stop.
Thank you for that. Those are all really good advice for milk supply, because I know a lot of us struggle with it at different times in our nursing journeys. So what are some last thoughts that you can leave us all with, and then we can open up for questions, and also let everybody know where they can find out more about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're running out of time. So my last thought is just ask for help and be willing to say no. I think if there's anything that you can do to really create a healthy pregnancy and a healthy postpartum period, is to set boundaries, be willing to say no to something, accept that it's perfect just the way it is. Don't allow any of the mommy guilt to come through, and be a little patient with yourself. And tomorrow's another day. How to find me, you guys have the link. I think the link is somewhere in the description if you're on the Facebook group. It was in my bio. Did that get put on the Facebook Live? I'm sure somebody's going to go in and edit it. So in my bio, the link is there. The group is called Women Rockin' Their Energy, Hormones, and Libido. So you can also search for it there. And I run, like she said, an online program. It's an 8-week program to help women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. If you'd like to chat about that, we can have a conversation. But for now, it's just the Facebook group is Women Rockin' Their Energy, Hormones, and Libido. And like I said, when you join, just put in your email and I can send you some of those adaptogen elixir recipes.
Thank you. And I highly recommend working with Maraya. I really enjoyed working with you and still working with you. I'm sure some of you might have some questions, so you can either put questions in the chat box or unmute yourself and ask questions, anything around what we spoke about, nutrition surrounding pregnancy and nursing.
And is someone checking the Facebook group to see if there's questions there? Awesome.
Maraya is a wealth of knowledge, so ask your questions if you have them. Anyone?
And I imagine Candace is also a wealth of knowledge. We have an herbalist here too.
That is true.
And maybe a question will come up for you after the fact. This is a lot of information to digest. So you can post the question if you're watching this on the Facebook group, or post the question to whomever has invited you to this, or if you join the private group, you can comment on one of those things and ask away there, and I can comment that way. Good?
Okay, awesome. Anyone, just before we end, does anyone want to ask anything before we? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Maraya. I'm going to now give it over to Candace so that she can close.
Well, thank you so much, Maraya, and thank you everyone for joining us. We hope you were able to learn so much. There's so much wonderful information that was presented, but I'm hoping that there's at least one wonderful aha moment or piece of info that you can take with you tonight to support you and your new family. And Maraya did highlight quite a bit about the benefits of Juice Plus and the Shred 10 program and the Complete Shake. There's also a wonderful Tower Garden that we have available for helping you grow your own food too, to support your nutrition on that level. So if you're interested in any of these wonderful solutions, please contact the person who invited you. And we even have a wonderful more good program happening right now with a promotion where if you sponsor a child between the ages of 4 or 18 or an undergraduate under the age of 25, they can receive their Juice Plus for free. And if you can sign up for this promotional package, you get a free bag of a complete shake mix, either vanilla or chocolate. And it's a wonderful opportunity. So if you are interested in learning more, participating in this program, please contact the person who invited you. And we also have opportunities where you can also join the business so you can help inspire healthy living around the world. And if you'd like to reach out to Maraya and connect with her more, you can get her, you can find her information that was posted on the Facebook group, or the person who invited you can connect you to her services. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful evening.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was awesome. Yay, I'm going to let it go. I'm monitoring the group because I want to know when to. I could stop the recording. Hang on.